Today I'm ranking all of the Destiny 2 exotic weapons into a tier list for PvP. In other words, this is going to be one thick tier list. Before we begin the rankings, let me explain some of the rules on how these rankings are being evaluated. First of all, these rankings are from the perspective of a controller player, but I will actually create two rankings when an exotic performs differently on mouse and keyboard, so this video will be applicable to all players on all platforms. Second, the rankings for this video are dependent on the weapon's effectiveness and potential to excel in all PvP activities ranging from Trials of Osiris to casual 6v6 modes. Since this is such a big tier list, later in the video I actually break down the rankings into insightful mini tier lists based on stuff like the slot the exotics occupy on your Guardian, how much skill is required to use them effectively, and what ammo type they take. So be sure to stick around for that. Starting off in alphabetical order, we have everyone's favorite hand cannon, the Ace of Spades. I love using this weapon, but man, I really miss when Cade 6 was our Hunter Vanguard. Ace has the exotic perk Memento Mori. Reloading after a kill loads the magazine with a few extra damage bullets, grants radar while aiming down the sights. As I noted in my video comparing all of the best weapons in the game, Ace hits like a truck with Memento Mori active, and it causes opponents to flinch extremely hard. Due to its archetype, really high stats, and a perk package that has like a trillion perks, Ace is an all-around amazing hand cannon and checks all of the boxes for PvP. The only real weaknesses that Ace has is that it isn't very accurate in the air, and the recoil can feel kind of jarring for controller players, but those downsides are far outweighed by the Memento Mori perk alone. Some would go as far as to say that this is the best hand cannon in the game, but either way, it's clear that Ace deserves a spot in the S tier. Ager's Scepter is a rather interesting stasis trace rifle, and it's unique as the only trace rifle that goes in the kinetic slot. Fun fact for anyone who may not know, if a weapon's barrel is pointing to the left in its icon, that means it goes in the kinetic slot, and if it's pointing to the right, it goes in the energy slot. The Scepter's exotic trait is called Ager's Call, and it makes final blows with this weapon generate a slowing burst around the target, making this perhaps the most useful perk on any trace rifle. Where this weapon really starts to get interesting is when you apply the catalyst, which allows you to drain your super in exchange for putting this weapon into overcharge. It completely annihilates anyone while doing this, but it's really not worth sacrificing your super. Overall, it's a pretty average trace rifle, but it does have some flashy perks, so I'm going to put it in the C tier. Anarchy is a heavy grenade launcher that sticks arc traps to the ground and zaps anyone between the arc traps. This weapon was amazing for PvE DPS for a long time, and it's still pretty decent in PvE, but it really struggles in PvP. It's insanely easy to just sidestep the arc traps, and it's also very ammo inefficient. Even in this Mayhem clip with unlimited ammo, it's pretty obvious that Anarchy is still struggling to get kills. So therefore, I'm going to put this one down in the F tier. Arbalest was the first of its kind as a special ammo linear fusion rifle in the kinetic slot. It quickly rose to the top of the console meta since it received very little flinch and had generous aim assist that could lock onto opponents' heads. It has since received a nerf, but it's still a pretty solid choice for PvP, especially if you use one of the several methods of seeing through the walls to perfectly pre-charge your shots. It doesn't have any special perks, but it's simply good in its base form and it annihilates supers. Although I was kinda slaying while testing the Arbalest for this video, it really lives in the shadow of a newer special ammo linear fusion rifle that is covered later in this video. So since the Arbalest is pretty good at base but doesn't really do anything special other than use special ammo, I'm going to put it in the B tier. Bad Juju is a full auto kinetic pulse that seems pretty bad at first glance, but it has a really awesome exotic perk. Its main trait, String of Curses, refills the magazine, increases the weapon's damage output, and grants bonus super energy based on the number of kills. This is amazing for chaining kills together in 6v6, and especially once you get the catalyst to extend the exotic perk's duration, you can gain a lot of extra super energy. With a recoil direction of 85, Bad Juju feels very stable to fire, but unfortunately it's really in an awkward archetype. Right now, the two bursting high impact pulses like Messenger are king, and rapid fire pulses are a close second. But at 450 RPM, the Bad Juju just doesn't have a very competitive time to kill, and it requires you to hit all headshots just to achieve a 3-burst kill. Once you get String of Curses rolling, it becomes more forgiving, but it's just not that good overall, so I'm going to put it in the D tier. Next up is the infamous slug-firing Bastion fusion rifle. This weapon fires in bursts and is capable of outputting a devastating amount of damage in close range. Bastion will obliterate any super in the game, but it kinda struggles in the range department, especially since it was nerfed to have increased spread. Since it has a charge time and often takes 2 out of 3 of the sets in the burst to kill, it's pretty hard to justify using it over something like the Chaperone, which has like almost the same amount of range. So therefore, Bastion is going in the B tier. Next up, we have the Black Talon, an exotic sword that truly feels exotic. Normal swords really aren't powerful in PvP because they require getting extremely close to an opponent. And in a sandbox where SMGs, shotguns, fusion rifles, and even sidearms kill extremely fast in close range, swords aren't all that effective, especially considering that they use power ammo. However, that's where the Black Talon's perk called Crow's Wings comes into play. It allows the user to unleash a devastating range attack with high velocity and generous tracking. Since this ranged attack is so powerful, I think Black Talon has earned a spot in the A+ tier. I also give it bonus points since it's so fun to use during the Solstice of Heroes Arc Day event when it gives infinite ammo. Borealis is a pretty awesome sniper with the exotic perk, the Fundamentals. Change this weapon's damage type, cycling between Solar, Arc, and Void. I don't know about you guys, but I think the Borealis looks amazing, especially with its custom animation for the exotic perk, and I also love its ornament. The Borealis has Ionic Return, a perk that grants bonus damage after breaking a Guardian's shields while matching the element type to their super. Unfortunately, this perk doesn't do much because a Guardian will still survive a body shot. Borealis is a high-impact sniper with generous stats including a 45 zoom that really feels amazing, but it struggles to compete with legendary snipers due to its lack of snapshots, so I'm going to put it in the C tier. So imagine you have 4 auto rifles and then you strap them all together with a hose clamp and then cover them all up with some rusted sheets of metal. Well, the result would be the Cerberus +1. Although it's basically just 4 auto rifles, it almost operates like a pellet shotgun due to having so many barrels. Its exotic perk, Four-Headed Dog, reads, shoots erratic bullets from all gun barrels at the same time. The key word here is erratic. This weapon spread is so random that its time to kill depends a lot on luck, and that makes it really frustrating to use. Like the Bastion, it does output a ton of damage if all the shots land, but it's very rare for that to actually happen, so Cerberus is going down in the E tier. Cloudstrike is an electric sniper rifle from the Beyond Light expansion with the exotic perk Mortal Polarity. Precision final blows generate a lightning bolt at the target's location. In case that wasn't enough lightning for you, it also summons entire lightning storms if you can land rapid precision kills. This is one of the most fun to use snipers in the entire game because the lightning just allows you to get so many collateral kills. If any of you can add up the number of collateral kills in this section and comment the number down below with hashtag #CloudstrikeCollat, I'll heart your comment. Although the collaterals are extremely satisfying, Cloudstrike can be pretty difficult to use because it has mediocre stats, 50 zoom, and it flinches a lot when taking enemy fire. With that said, it has crazy potential for those who use it well, so I'm putting it in the A+ tier. Coldheart is a trace rifle with the name that kinda suggests it should deal stasis damage, but since it came out in year 1 before stasis was in the game, it deals arc damage. Its main exotic perk, Cold Winter, makes it deal more damage the longer it remains on target, but this really doesn't do that much in PvP as the time to kill is relatively fast. Coldheart just really doesn't compete and doesn't have any perks that help to increase its performance, so it lands in the E tier. Crimson is a polarizing pulse rifle hand cannon hybrid. You may hear very good or very bad things about this exotic depending on who you ask and what input device you use. Its exotic perk, Cruel Remedy, reads, kills with this weapon heal the wielder. Precision kills also refill the magazine. This is literally perfect for going on extremely long kill chains in 6v6 like you're seeing in the background right now. It really can't get any better than infinite ammo and infinite health regeneration. However, due to the extremely slow speed that the bullets fire from this weapon, you almost have to play like it's an auto rifle, so you can't really peek shoot and it's not as effective for competitive 3v3. Controller players tend to love this weapon because reticle friction helps us land all 3 shots in the burst, something that M&K players can struggle to do. As I said in the beginning, Crimson can be really polarizing because it might be an S tier weapon for a controller player looking to go on 6v6 kill streaks, but it might be like a C tier weapon for an M&K player trying to do trials. So all things considered, I'm going to split the Crimson rankings and put it in the A+ tier for controller players and the B tier for M&K players. Speaking of Crimson, that little subscribe button down below is looking pretty crimson for about 85% of you, so maybe consider clicking it. Cryosthesia 77K is a stasis kinetic sidearm with the exotic perk Liquid Cooling. Final blows with this weapon enable a charged shot for a short duration. Targets hit by this shot are instantly frozen at the cost of the weapon's entire magazine. Unfortunately, this freezing perk is pretty useless because by the time you reload or switch to another weapon to kill the frozen target, they've probably already escaped. Other than that, the sidearm is pretty average except for the fact that it has 93 aim assist, so it's going in the E tier. D.A.R.C.I is a power ammo sniper rifle that has 2 main perks that work together. Personal Assistant provides us with useful information when aiming at a target, and Target Acquired gives bonus aim assist and weapon headshot damage while Personal Assistant is active. So basically whenever you're aiming at a target. This is great because it can one-shot supers, something that no other 140 RPM sniper can do. In addition, it wasn't affected by the 140 sniper nerf way back in the day, so this is the only 140 sniper that can kill in 2 body shots. With a 96 stability stat, this is easily the most stable sniper ever, and its scope feels pretty awesome, but it has really low range and just gets outclassed by many other exotics out there, so I'm going to put it in the C tier. Deadman's Tail is a unique lever action scout rifle, and it's one of the only exotic weapons in the game that can roll with random perks. You can use Vorpal Weapon to melt opposing supers, Killing Wind for bonus stats, or even Moving Target for bonus aim assist and strafe speed. There are several great options. On top of that, its exotic perk called Cranial Spike makes chaining precision hits grants bonus damage and quicken reload speed. Once you unlock the Catalyst, the Deadman's becomes a hipfire monster, allowing you to strafe really fast, fire even faster, and have perfect accuracy without even aiming. Deadman's is truly an amazing weapon on PC even after the nerfs, but it has never really been super viable on controller, so I'm going to put it in the A+ tier for M&K and the B tier for controller. Deathbringer is an insanely cool looking Void rocket launcher with the exotic perk Dark Deliverance. Fires remotely detonated projectiles that drop Void orbs on combatants. This rocket is awesome because you can detonate it in the sky above your opponents, and then the tracking Void orbs will seek out your opponents from above. Since these orbs don't have any major audio-visual cues, players will often not see them coming and get surprised when one of them detonates right on top of their head. I'm kinda surprised I don't see this one more often because it's pretty good and the multi-kill potential is definitely there for 6v6. Overall, this is an awesome and non-traditional rocket launcher that has earned its spot in the A+ tier. If you took the chonky 1000 voices and then compressed it into a tiny little sidearm, you'd get the Devil's Ruin. This fiery exotic's main perk is Close the Gap. Press and release to fire individual shots. Hold and charge to fire up a high-powered stunning laser. The base form of this sidearm is fairly decent and ordinary, but the laser is pretty deadly, and if you time it just right, you can annihilate supers with it. I think the laser is actually really powerful, and when testing for this video, it felt like nobody knew how to counter it. With that said, the laser does have a lengthy 1-second charge time, and the sidearm doesn't really do anything special that makes it a top contender, so the Devil's Ruin lands in the C tier. Divinity is an arc trace rifle with the exotic perk Judgment. Sustained damage with this weapon envelops the target in a field that weakens and stuns them. In PvP terms, this basically just means it turns the Guardian into one big headshot box. The only potential use for this exotic is creating big crit spots so that a teammate can get an easy headshot, like in this clip for example where my teammate gets a free sniper headshot on a super. Overall though, this exotic has an awfully slow time to kill of 1.13 seconds, which is a lot slower than the other trace rifles. I'm gonna put this one down in the F tier, but if you want a fun challenge, try using it with the weighted throwing knives to reset the cooldown with free headshots. Duality is a slug and pellet shotgun hybrid. Its compression chamber exotic perk makes it fire a spread in hipfire mode, but a single pellet while aiming. Duality is amazing because it allows you to react really fast and hipfire close by opponents, or aim down sights and slug shotgun more distant opponents. This makes it perhaps the most versatile shotgun in the game, and it can pair nicely with a variety of primary weapons. Its other perk, On Black Wings, grants extra precision damage and a massive reload speed buff, so it will reload absurdly fast, especially if you have Dragon Shadow equipped. Overall, Duality is an amazing shotgun worthy of a spot in the S tier. Dune Marchers is a powerful exotic weapon with the defining perk called I am actually an armor piece. This weapon is very unique because you don't actually shoot it, and it fires all by itself when you use your melee. It unleashes massive lightning bolts that chain off of guardians, both dead and alive, within a 10-mile radius. It also has another exotic perk called the Confusion. This perk misleads opponents who fall victim to the Dune Marchers by incorrectly informing them that they died to the ACD feedback fence. This helps to conceal the true power of the exotic and frustrate opponents, making it a very deadly option in the Crucible. Ariana's Vow comes with the exotic perk Looks Can Kill. This weapon fires special shield-piercing ammunition, and it comes with a scope. It also has Death at First Glance, giving it bonus damage on opening shots while aiming. With 24 zoom and its use of special ammo, this thing feels more like a sniper rifle than a hand cannon, and its recoil is absurdly strong. So it's often best to use Ariana's with another weapon like a hand cannon, bow, or SMG to secure each kill. A damage buff with this weapon can let you one-shot with it, but overall it's fairly rare and you'd probably just be better off using a sniper, so I'm gonna put Ariana's in the B tier. Eyes of Tomorrow. Will eyes actually look like this in the future? Its main exotic perk is Eyes on All. This weapon is capable of tracking and firing at multiple targets simultaneously. Upon aiming this weapon, you'll see it visually lock onto opponents, and when you fire, the rockets will seek out those targets. This is a particularly absurd weapon for decimating the entire team in Gambit invasions, and it's pretty viable in PvP as well. The tracking is amazing, but sometimes it feels like it takes too long to kill people, which can result in a lot of trades, so I'm going to put it in the A- tier. Fighting Lion is a primary ammo grenade launcher. Its perk Thin the Herd increases the reload speed after damaging multiple opponents, and defeating grenade damaged opponents refills the magazine. This weapon is best when you deal a bit of damage with it and then switch to your other weapon to clean up, and the Catalyst will help with this by granting bonus accuracy and handling to that weapon. It can also be used around the corner to hit or even kill people who are in cover. Overall, it's an okay weapon, but mastering the release time on the detonation can be annoying, and I'm not really a fan of grenade launchers, so I'm going to put this one in the D tier. Graviton Lance once dominated the entire PvP meta, but since then, basically everything else has been buffed and the Graviton has been left behind. Its main exotic perk, Cosmology, causes enemy targets to detonate and spawn void projectiles that track targets. This is great for getting collateral kills, or at the very least, damaging a second target to make them easier to clean up. Graviton also has Black Hole. The second shot of a burst rips a hole through space-time, doing high damage and recoil with no fall off. This makes that second shot extremely important and sometimes difficult to hit, and it also has a slow time to kill of 1 second, so I'm going to put it down in the D tier. Hardlight took a page from Borealis' book and has the perk The Fundamentals. Change this weapon's damage type, cycling between Solar, Arc, and Void. It also has Volatile Light. Rounds fired from this weapon have reduced damage falloff, over-penetrate targets, and ricochet off hard surfaces. This is super fun for priming targets around corners and also extremely useful for preventing health regeneration. It's time to pull out that high school geometry textbook because just a single calculated ricochet can win you the engagement. Hardlight is an okay option with a cool aesthetic, but its perks really aren't that powerful, so it's going to land in the E tier. Hawkmoon was the first exotic to roll with random perks, which makes it quite powerful to begin with, and it also has Paracausal Shot. Final blows and precision hits with Hawkmoon grant stacks of Paracausal Charge. The final round of the magazine deals bonus damage based on the number of stacks. It's incredibly fun to run around PvP acquiring the Paracausal Charge stacks and then one-shot cuckawing people to their graves with the final bullet in the mag. With a super high 93 aim assist and the potential to roll with extremely good perks like Eye of the Storm, Rangefinder, and Opening Shot, Hawkmoon has earned a place in the S tier. I don't think it's quite as good as Ace, but it's still an S tier option in my opinion. Oh boy, where do I even start with this one? I have an extreme amount of respect for Bungie's sandbox team, and I think they do a great job balancing all of these complicated weapons, but there's no two ways about it. This weapon is straight up busted. Heir Apparent's main perk is Armor of the Colossus. While at full health, spinning up this weapon protects you with an arc shield. Additionally, the Catalyst increases the durability of that arc shield, and that's mainly why this is such a huge problem. Even if you're using an arc weapon, it's extraordinarily hard to kill anyone wielding this exotic. Heir Apparent can straight up tank most of the supers in the game and just annihilate several opponents with the insane 68 shots of heavy ammo that it gets from a single ammo box. Honestly, I'd rather have an Heir Apparent than a super. It's just that powerful. With that in mind, I think it's clear that it belongs in the S tier. But I assume it's going to get nerfed very soon, so if you're watching this video a while after it's published, hopefully you can disregard everything I just said. Izanagi's Burden has the perk Honed Edge. Consume the magazine and load around with additional range and damage. This can be useful for consuming a large amount of bullets and one-shotting people to the body, but ultimately this isn't very useful, especially now that special ammo is more rare. The low stats and awkward reticle make it difficult to use, and it doesn't have any extraordinary perks that make it stand out. I think this sniper belongs in the C tier with the note that Honed Edge can be potentially useful for securing easy body shot kills. Jotun is a very interesting exotic fusion rifle with the perk Charged Shot. Hold down the trigger to charge up a tracking shot that explodes and burns on impact. This weapon is extremely easy to use at low levels of play as it has generous tracking, but due to the travel time and long charge time, it isn't super competitive in high level PvP. A good player can position themselves next to cover and easily sidestep the projectiles, so I'm going to put this one in the C tier. Le Monarch is a bow with the perk Poison Arrows. Arrows fired quickly after a full draw become poison arrows. Precision hits with poison arrows spread poison to nearby enemies. And wow, the poison can spread really fast into a lot of enemies. It also has Snapshot to help fire those arrows super fast. It seems that few people know this since it's not actually listed anywhere on the weapon, but as a lightweight bow, Monarch makes you move faster. This bow is extremely potent in PvP since the burn damage prevents health regeneration for some time, and it also just outputs a ton of damage overall. I think it's easily the best bow on this tier list and has earned a spot in the A- tier. Legend of Acrius is a classic heavy ammo shotgun taken right off the Cabal. It has the perk Shock Blast. This weapon fires blasts of high damage arc energy that overpenetrates targets. Acrius is really just an average shotgun, except for the fact that it will take you about the entire duration of a PvP game just to draw the weapon. Featuring a lovely handling stat of 10, this weapon handles and draws unbelievably slow. I'm gonna put this one down in the F tier. While we're on the theme of things that are unbelievably slow, the Leviathan's Breath is a bow that simply takes an eternity to draw. Also featuring a lovely handling stat of 10, this bow just feels awful. I don't think anyone could rank this higher than F tier for PvP. Oh, and did I mention that it takes power ammo? I'm sorry, but this is just not the move for PvP. Lord of Wolves is a shotgun with the exotic perk Shrapnel Launcher. Fires a powerful short-range burst of solar damage. This shotgun can hit some pretty long ranges if you're accurate with it and remain on target during the entire burst. For reference, it has approximately the same range as a slug shotgun. It also has an alternative fire mode called Release the Wolves that was so overpowered, Bungie created an emblem commemorating it. Ever since the nerf though, this mode isn't particularly useful and it just eats through your ammo. I'm gonna put Lord of Wolves in the A- tier because it can kill at some long distances and it's pretty fun to use, but it's not really the most potent special weapon option. Lorentz Driver is basically Arbalest, except with tons of flashy perks and some generous aim assist. The driver's main exotic perk is the Lagrangian Sights. Final blows on marked targets generate a telemetry pattern. Picking up telemetry patterns grants bonus ability energy, and collecting 3 telemetry patterns without dying gives this weapon bonus damage. In addition, EM Anomaly will cause targets to implode, sucking in all nearby enemies and detonating a void blast. The Lorentz has perhaps the coolest sound design of any weapon in the entire game, and it's seriously a ton of fun to use in all Crucible modes. I was using this while playing with viewers during my stream the other day and got 53 kills with 2 deaths during one of the games. Definitely drop me a follow on Twitch, by the way, twitch.tv/ShadowDestiny, link in the description. The void detonations are flashy and exciting, the aim assist is sticky, and the telemetry pattern gives a huge 50% bonus damage for 30 seconds, allowing for some cheesy body shot sprees. I think Lorentz has definitely earned a ranking up in the S tier. Lumina has the exotic perk Noble Rounds. Kills with this weapon leave behind remnants. Absorbing a remnant converts your next hip-fired shot into an ally-seeking Noble Round and partially refills the magazine. Working in conjunction, its other perk, Blessing of Sky, makes Noble Rounds heal allies and grant you and them bonus weapon damage. Using this perk to gain bonus weapon damage and then just becoming a body shot bandit with a high impact sniper can be super fun. Lumina's ability to provide bonus damage can set up some pretty powerful combos, but it can be kinda awkward to use the Noble Rounds, and the hand cannon itself is pretty average, so I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Malfeasance has the exotic perk Explosive Shadows. I'm not always explosive, but I certainly am while using Malfeasance. This perk causes enemies to explode after 5 shots, and those shots can be at any range. So yeah, land 5 shots with this gun at scout rifle range and you'll have yourself a kill. This can really surprise opponents because one moment you're just tickling them for like 10 damage, and then after 5 shots, boom. Explosions aside though, Malfeasance simply isn't a very good hand cannon, and its 180 RPM archetype isn't doing it any favors, so I'm putting it in the E tier. Merciless has the exotic perk Conserve Momentum that makes it charge faster after non-lethal hits, but honestly this perk is useless 99% of the time for PvP. It does have another perk called Impetus though, and it basically is just like Kill Clip except super strong. It makes it do up to 95 damage per bolt after a kill, and yeah, that's just insane. It also has a hidden Feeding Frenzy perk, and it's super nice to get faster reload speed to activate Impetus. The Catalyst does give Merciless tons of range and stability, and it's easily one of the best high impact fusions, but especially since the fusion rifle rework, it really struggles to compete and can't reliably kill supers. It's gonna land in the C tier. MIDA Multi-Tool provides faster movement speed, and its perk MIDA Radar grants radar while aiming. It also has no distractions via its catalyst, and that actually works super well with MIDA Radar. I found myself noticing the flinch reduction a lot, and it won me quite a few of my duels. MIDA is overall fairly effective in this meta, and it becomes extremely deadly if you set yourself up with a Rift, or even a Stag Rift or Titan's Shield if you're feeling particularly evil. However, it's still a scout rifle and doesn't hold a candle to Dead Man's Tail at the moment, so I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Monte Carlo's perk is the Monte Carlo method. Dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully recharge your melee ability with each kill. In addition, its Markov chain perk is basically just Swashbuckler with a new name. This is a perfect pairing for many melee-focused builds like throwing knives, and it can really melt people with Markov chain. Overall, Monte is one of the better auto rifles in the game, but auto rifles in general aren't in a super great spot in the moment, so I'm gonna put it in the C tier. No Time to Explain has an extremely cool set of exotic perks that work in tandem. First, landing precision shots will generate stacks of Rewind Again. Second, after 10 stacks of Rewind Again, Timeslip will literally open a portal to an alternate timeline where another version of this weapon will help you shoot your opponents, kinda like an Arc Buddy. This is amazing because this Timeslip thing will fire instantly, meaning that you almost always get the first shot in the engagement, especially if you peek with the cover to your right. This weapon has one critical flaw: its recoil direction. With a stat of 90, it recoils heavily to the left, so landing a 2-burst can be really hard without the perk active. Despite this, it's still an overall outstanding weapon deserving of a spot in the S tier. 1000 Voices exotic perk Ahamkara's Eye unleashes a continuous beam of death. And I mean, they really weren't joking. It feels like the entire map is exploding when this thing goes off. Overall, it's a super fun and powerful exotic to use, and it's going to land in the A- tier. Outbreak Perfected's main perk is the Corruption Spreads. This weapon creates Siva nanite swarms on rapid hits and precision kills. Fun fact, it also has a hidden perk that increases its stability over time while shooting. Some people have speculated that it's a hidden version of the Persistence perk from Destiny 1, or perhaps some form of dynamic sway reduction. That's great and all, but like the bad Juju, this weapon is in a super awkward 450 RPM archetype that really isn't super powerful. In addition, it also has a bad recoil direction like the No Time, so I'm gonna put it in the D tier. Polaris Lance has the exotic perk, the Perfect Fifth. Precision hits return ammo to the mag. Landing 4 precision hits loads a delayed solar explosive round for your next shot. This is a really fun scout to use, and the explosive solar round can help you get some easy killing sprees. With that said, it's a 150 RPM scout, and those require you to land all 3 headshots, and they really aren't top contenders at the moment, so it's going to land down in the E tier. Prometheus Lens is a trace rifle with the perk Prismatic Inferno. Fires a solar trace beam and generates a damaging heat field that grows while the weapon continues to fire. It also has frame refraction to refill the mag after a kill, and it's actually pretty useful, especially in 6v6. After testing all of the trace rifles, I'd say this one is my favorite, but it's still not that great overall, so it's going to land in the D tier. Rat King's exotic perk, Rat Pack, causes his weapon to be more powerful when nearby allies are also using Rat King. A full fire team of Rat Kings is insane and looks like this. Speaking of fire teams, if you're looking to group up with some like-minded guardians, or if you just want to hang out in an awesome community, you should totally join my Discord server at discord.gg/shadowdestiny. If you're not in a fire team, the chance of finding another Rat King user is basically 0, so this perk is not that useful. It also has the perk called Vermin. Reloading immediately after a kill grants invisibility. I guess this could have some utility in an invisibility build, but still, it's probably not worth it. Overall, not the best exotic, so I'm putting it in the E tier. Riskrunner has the perk Arc Conductor. When taking arc damage, this weapon becomes more powerful and resists incoming arc damage. Kills extend the time in this overcharged state. Its other perk, Superconductor, returns ammo to the magazine and chains arc energy between opponents when Superconductor is active. Riskrunner is super powerful against anyone using an arc primary weapon, but you can also activate the Arc Conductor by intentionally damaging yourself with a grenade. It's great when Superconductor is active, but it really struggles in the range department otherwise. Featuring a very low zoom value of just 13, Riskrunner really can't compete with legendary SMGs. I wish Bungie would consider giving it 16 or 17 zoom because that would potentially turn it into an S tier contender. But for now, it sits in the B tier. Ruinous Effigy is a trace rifle that lets you absolutely dunk on your opponents. Its exotic perk called Transmutation transforms defeated guardians into void balls that you can pick up and then dunk on people. You can also use it to reduce incoming damage, but I think you'd be better off just shooting your weapon. Unfortunately, due to the range of the dunk being extremely short, it's really not all that effective. Ruinous is a super fun weapon to use, but since it's yet another trace rifle with fairly useless perks, it's landing in the E tier. Speaking of being useless, the Salvation's grip is just on another level. This weapon may have some super important uses for the Beyond Light campaign, but man, this is just hot garbage in PvP. It creates stasis crystals, so basically like a glacier grenade, except worse. I suppose you could freeze someone and then shadow dive them, but even then, it's not an attractive exotic for PvP. F tier. Skyburner's Oath is a scout rifle that lobs explosive seeking slugs when hip firing and fast traveling slugs while aiming down the sights. Yeah, that's right, I said fast traveling. Even while aiming down the sights, Skyburner's Oath is a projectile weapon, meaning that bullets have travel time. This is seriously not ideal for a scout rifle because you have to lead your shots a few frames if you want to be accurate at a long distance. And the hipfire mode is a total meme, but if you sit in the back of the map and lob these explosives across the map, maybe you'll get an assist. Hashtag profit. I guess the one strength of this weapon is that it has the hidden perk of not experiencing damage fall off for whatever reason, but let's be real, nobody is going to be dueling you at 100 meter ranges anyway. I think it's only fair to put the Skyburner's Oath in the F tier. Sleeper Simulant is a linear fusion rifle with the perk Dornröschen, which apparently translates to Sleeping Beauty. If you speak German, let me know in the comments if I said that right. This weapon's laser over-penetrates enemies and refracts off hard surfaces. That's cool and all, but it still takes over a full second to charge up, which is double the time of a normal linear fusion. That gives your opponents plenty of time to flinch you, and even with the catalyst reducing the charge time, it's still way too long to be competitive. So Sleeper Simulant is going to land down in the F tier. Getting out of F tier territory, Sturm is a 120 hand cannon with all around fantastic stats, making it a decent option even after the 120 hand cannon nerfs. In addition, it has an interesting relationship with another weapon called Drang. Kills with Drang load overcharged bullets into Sturm, and these weapons also reload each other. If you stack any other type of damage boost on top of overcharge, Sturm can actually one-shot opponents, which is extremely powerful and satisfying. Overall, this is an amazing hand cannon, and you can make some interesting plays with Drang, so I'm going to put it in the A- tier. Sunshot's exotic perk is Sunburn. This weapon fires explosive rounds and highlights targets that take damage from Sunshot. This helps to increase the effective range of this weapon because the explosions don't suffer damage falloff. Sunshot also has Sun Blast, which makes targets explode, and this can occasionally lead to some awesome looking collateral kills. At the time of recording, Sunshot is currently the only 150 RPM hand cannon in the game, which makes it have incredibly high potential, but it has two big weaknesses that prevent it from being top tier: aim assist and target visibility. With an aim assist stat of only 60, the Sunshot is not nearly as forgiving as other hand cannons, and the recoil animation plus all of the solar effects can make it really hard to see your opponent. However, the potential is definitely there, and the exploding solar theme is awesome, so the Sunshot is going in the B tier. Suros Regime's exotic perk is Suros Legacy. The bottom half of each magazine deals bonus damage and has a chance to return health on kill. Additionally, it has two modes: Spinning Up, which increases the rate of fire while holding the trigger, and Dual Speed Receiver, which grants more damage at the cost of a slower fire rate. At the moment, the Spinning Up mode seems to be optimal for PvP, and it can help speed up the time to kill if you time it correctly. After it's fully spun up, it can really melt people. However, like the Hard Light, Suros isn't exactly in the best place right now due to auto rifles being off meta, so Suros lands in the C tier. Sweet Business has the exotic perk Payday. Larger magazine. Increased accuracy while firing from the hip. Its Business Time perk increases its range and rate of fire during sustained fire. Sweet Business is a fun exotic to use, but it really struggles during the time that it is ramping up to its maximum rate of fire, featuring a really bad time to kill of approximately 1.2 seconds. However, once it has reached its maximum rate of fire, the Sweet Business destroys Guardians in a blazing fast 0.6 seconds. The main issue with this exotic is that it's really easy to outplay it before it reaches its max RPM, and it's so loud that you can hear it from almost across the entire map. It's pretty easy for opponents to just listen for you to stop firing and then peek you. So because this weapon is so easy to counter in higher levels of play, I'm going to put Sweet Business in the E tier. Symmetry is a scout rifle with the exotic perk Revolution. This weapon fires full auto and can swap to Arc Seeker mode. Arc Seekers track towards combatants you target. It also has the perk called Dynamic Charge. Precision hits build up Dynamic Charge. Swapping to Arc Seeker mode increases the damage and partially reloads the mag based on the number of charges. Basically, if you get some stacks of Dynamic Charge by using the weapon normally and then switch to Arc Seeker mode, you can 2-tap people without even aiming. Although this is pretty powerful, the normal firing mode of the weapon really sucks and has a subpar range stat of only 37, so this one is also going in the E tier. Wow. Teraba is actually anything but terrible. I hadn't used this weapon before I tested it out for this video because I'm still saving up my Spoils of Conquest and I do the raid like once a year. But anyway, I was really impressed by this weapon. Its main exotic perk, Ravenous Beast, makes it store power when dealing or receiving damage, and then once your power is full, you hold the reload button to unleash the beast. This just shreds through anything in the game, with a time to kill of 0.33 seconds. Warlock Rifts? No problem. Titan Shields? Easy. Enemy supers? Deleted. This thing can even kill Warlocks while inside their Well of Radiance. The notable thing about this weapon is that it's all about the damage you deal and receive, not about kills. So you could just go deal a bunch of damage and not get any kills, and then still unleash the beast. Although Teraba is an amazing weapon, it does have a couple of weak points. Its magazine size is 30, and it's really easy to eat through that while trying to go on kill sprees. Also, you lose progress on Ravenous Beast when switching weapons, and that is really unfortunate. Overall, I think Teraba deserves a place in the A+ tier. Telesto's main exotic perk is Unplanned Reprieve. Fusion projectiles attach and detonate with a delayed Void Blast. In an effort to reduce the frequency at which Telesto breaks the game, Bungie partially reworked it so that the projectiles cannot be destroyed by weapons fire and now last for 5 seconds. That means that Telesto traps have become more powerful at locking down lanes, but for shorter periods of time. I also noticed that you can attach the Telesto projectiles to the infamous doors on the Cauldron map, and they just float in midair, making it impossible for anyone to go through the door. Overall, this is a pretty powerful exotic with some serious playmaking potential, so it has earned a spot in the A+ tier. Chaperone is an exotic sniper rifle with the perk called Roadborne. Precision kills briefly grant bonus handling, range, and precision damage with this weapon. Long story short, Chaperone is just a beast in the Crucible. With a maxed out range bar, absurdly generous aim assist, and very fast handling, it's easily one of the best weapons in the game. If you manage to get the exotic perk activated, it can reach over 14 meters of range, and if you really want to trigger your opponents, try standing in a Lunafaction Rift for a 25 meter kill. I mean, seriously, how does a shotgun have 25 meters of range? That's like more than most of the fusion rifles, SMGs, and sidearms. I'd say its #1 weakness is that it's inaccurate in the air, but Chaperone is just an all-around fantastic weapon that is definitely deserving of a spot in the S tier. The colony's exotic perk is Insectoid Robot Grenades. This weapon's grenades are insectoid robots that chase targets and explode close to them. Man, this weapon sounds and feels really cool, and it's unfortunate that I mostly see it used by cheaters who hack infinite ammo and then send out thousands of insectoid robots.
Yo! Whoa!
The insectoid robots cannot one-shot kill, but they move pretty fast and they can even climb walls, so it's pretty good for cleaning up weakened opponents. However, due to its limited ammo and the fact that opponents can simply jump to avoid all damage, I'm going to put this one in the D tier. The Fourth Horseman has 2 main exotic perks. Broadside increases the damage and spread with each successive shot, and Thunderer drastically increases the rate of fire and makes this weapon full auto. This weapon has a pretty poor range and only one-shot kills at extremely close range, so it almost always takes 2 or more shots to kill an opponent. Now that special ammo is less plentiful in PvP, having a weapon that is this ammo efficient is not exactly a recipe for success. I'm going to rank this one in the E tier. The Huckleberry's exotic perk is Ride the Bull. Increased rate of fire and recoil while you're holding down the trigger. Kills with this weapon reload a portion of the magazine. It also has Rampage, which provides extra damage and pairs beautifully with the Ride the Bull perk for some extra long killing sprees with unlimited ammo. If you get the Catalyst, kills will entirely refill the magazine, so it just gets even better. Huckleberry has a very competitive time to kill of 0.67 seconds that competes with the best weapons out there, but unfortunately you have to hit all headshots to achieve that speed. Like the Risk Runner, the Huckleberry struggles to engage targets at long range due to its low zoom stat of only 13, so that really prevents it from ranking too high. With that said, the slaying potential is really good, especially for 6v6, so Huckleberry is going in the B tier. The Jade Rabbit's exotic perk is the Fate of All Fools. Chain body shots to gain bonus damage on your next precision shot and return ammo to the magazine. With a perfect recoil direction of 100 and the exotic catalyst bringing the stability up to a crazy 82, the Jade Rabbit is very controllable and it's very consistent when it comes to 3-tapping Guardians at long range. If you start missing your headshots though, this weapon becomes extremely bad due to its lengthy body shot time to kill of 2 seconds. Overall, it's a very consistent and straightforward weapon to use, but I really don't think it's a top contender in this sandbox, so I'm going to rank it in the D tier. It looks like our primary ammo tier list is shaping up nicely. Stick around until the end of the video to see what dividing the tier list up based on ammo type looks like. The Lament is definitely one of the coolest swords in the game. I mean, just look at it. The thing has a chainsaw attached to its blade. Unfortunately though, the Lament doesn't really do anything too special inside of PvP, other than frighten your opponents with its menacing revving up sound. It will annihilate just about anyone in close range, but it can be really difficult to close the gap in a sandbox where SMGs, shotguns, and fusion rifles are very common. I'm gonna have to put this one in the F tier. The Last Word is another one of those weapons that can perform really differently depending on what input device you use. When it first came out, this weapon had almost no recoil on mouse and keyboard and felt extremely dominant, but nowadays it's much more popular among controller players and is difficult to use for mouse and keyboard players. Its exotic perk Fan Fire makes it fire in full auto, and hipfire shots deal bonus precision damage while increasing reload speed and accuracy. Although it is full auto, I still recommend that most players pace their shots to go for maximum accuracy, because securing all headshots with the Last Word can result in a time to kill as fast as 0.53 seconds, making it one of the fastest killing weapons in the entire game. Overall, I'm going to rank the Last Word in the A+ tier for controller players and the C tier for M&K players. The Prospector's exotic perk is Excavation. Fire grenades. Release to detonate all live grenades simultaneously. Grenades stick to surfaces and set targets on fire. This can be a pretty funny exotic to use because cleverly placing sticky grenades can lead to some nice kills on unsuspecting opponents. However, I don't think this exotic is particularly viable, and you'd definitely be better off using one of the other exotic heavies in this video, so this one is going to land in the F tier. The Queenbreaker is a wire rifle that fires a long-range precision arc bolt, blinding enemies on impact. Of course, this is irrelevant if you hit a headshot, but if you accidentally hit the body, it can really confuse your opponent. If you select combat sights, and I definitely recommend doing so, the Queenbreaker gets a bonkers 100 aim assist and 91 stability. Adding the Catalyst increases the aim assist even more, but I don't think that actually does anything. But it notably increases the range up to a total of 73, which is quite important. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of linear fusions, and the Queenbreaker is no exception, but I will admit that some of the other exotics on this tier list are more powerful. Therefore, I'm going to put the Queenbreaker in the A- tier. Speaking of powerful heavies, the Wardcliff Coil is a force to be reckoned with and features the Mad Scientist exotic perk. This weapon fires a volley of rockets. This isn't just any ordinary volley of rockets though. These things aggressively seek out and annihilate enemies, and the tracking only becomes more accurate once you unlock the catalyst. This weapon has been a staple of the Crucible for quite some time, and for good reason. It's extremely easy to get free kills by pointing the Wardcliff in the general direction of some opponents and not aiming whatsoever. Due to its ease of use and destructive potential, I think Wardcliff has earned a place in the S tier. Thorn is a classic hand cannon that deals damage over time with a burn, and this can be quite useful because it forces opponents to wait longer to regenerate their HP, and these ticking numbers allow you to see where they're going through the walls. Thorn has two exotic perks that complement one another. Mark of the Devourer makes rounds pierce targets and deal damage over time. Kills with this weapon leave behind remnants. Next, Soul Devourer grants bonus damage and burn if you pick up one of the glowy green remnants. Once you've picked up one of the remnants, you'll gain the ability to 2-tap, which is extremely powerful. Overall, Thorn can be a really awesome option for PvP, and I'm going to put it in the S tier. Thunderlord's name isn't just a gimmick. This weapon actually lets you destroy your opponents with lightning. It has the exotic perk Rain Havoc. Kills with this weapon generate lightning strikes from above. Additionally, its other perk Lightning Rounds makes it become more accurate while firing continuously, and dealing continuous damage summons even more lightning. With a time to kill of 0.53 seconds and lightning and huge amounts of damage flinching everyone to the moon, Thunderlord is definitely a solid option for PvP and belongs in the B tier. Tiku's Divination is actually surprisingly good if you play to its strengths. It has the exotic perk Sacred Flame. Hip firing this weapon fires multiple tracking projectiles. Targets marked by these projectiles explode upon death or when struck by another Sacred Flame explosion. The hipfire mode of this weapon has absurdly strong tracking, and you can literally just spam fire it and tag the entire enemy team. It also provides visual tracking and wall hacks to help you acquire targets that might be blending into the environment. Tiku's Divination also has Causality Arrows, a perk that makes the Sacred Flames detonate instantly when aiming, and perfectly drawn headshots increase the size of the explosion. Oftentimes, opponents think they're safe after being hit by a 1-damage hipfire, so they re-peek and then get surprised by a one-shot explosion. Although I think this is a very unique and fun weapon to use, I don't think it's quite on the level of the Monarch, so I'm going to put this one in the B tier. Tommy's Matchbook is actually pretty slept on. Tommy's has nearly perfect hipfire accuracy, a huge mag, and pretty good in-air accuracy as well. With many other weapons, the aim assist cone gets a penalty right after you stop sprinting, but this isn't the case with Tommy's, so it really caters to a run-and-gun type of playstyle. It has the exotic perk Ignition Trigger. Sustained fire with this weapon overheats it, increasing damage but burning the user. It kills pretty fast in its base form at 0.77 seconds, but it becomes extremely deadly and kills even faster when it becomes overheated. This is great for melting supers. Since they one-shot anyway, it doesn't matter if you're low on health. Overall, I think this is a pretty fun weapon to use and has a lot of potential if you hipfire it accurately, but the burning effect can make you pretty easy to kill, so I'm gonna put Tommy's in the A- tier. Tractor Cannon's exotic perk Repulsor Force pushes enemies away, suppresses them, and makes them vulnerable to incoming damage. This can be really helpful when it comes to shutting down supers and can certainly surprise your opponents if they don't know you've picked up the Tractor. Its scientific method perk allows you to run at supersonic speeds after damaging an opponent, and this can be really fun. However, in today's ammo economy, the Tractor only gets 2 shots, which makes it feel kinda limited, and other than the suppression, it's really not that powerful for just getting kills. I'm gonna put this one in the D tier. Traveler's Chosen has the perk Gathering Light. Final blows with this weapon grant stacks of Gathering Light. You can then consume the stacks, granting melee, grenade, and class ability energy based on the number of stacks. This can make the Traveler's Chosen an ideal pairing for ability-based builds because you can just farm the energy through the sidearm final blows. The Traveler's Chosen also has Gift of the Traveler. Each stack of Gathering Light improves this weapon's reload, handling, and target acquisition. This will basically just buff the weapon and make it feel extremely snappy until you decide to consume the stacks. It has a nice stat package overall and feels great, especially on controller, so I think this has earned its spot as the highest ranking sidearm in the video in the A- tier. Trinity Ghoul fires an arrow that splits when released, but aiming down the sights and fully drawing the bow both decrease the spread. With the catalyst, all kills cause it to become electrified, making the next arrow create chain lightning. Especially if you stack a damage bonus on top of this, Trinity Ghoul can be amazing for chaining tons and tons of kills on opponents who stood just too near to each other in 6v6. However, this bow is extremely bad for 3v3 modes, and since these rankings are based on the overall Crucible, I don't think I can rank this one any higher than the D tier.
Truth is a funny thing.
I've got to agree with the Witch Queen on this one. Using Truth's prototype True Seeker perk, you can get some hilarious clips where the rocket bends all the way around the map in a giant arc as it aggressively seeks out and annihilates your opponents. It also has the grenades and horseshoes perk, so the rockets are extremely reliable and will automatically detonate once they're within the blast radius of an opponent. Truth does just about everything you could want for a single target, but it's not as effective as something like Wardcliff when it comes to taking out multiple opponents, and it requires some level of aiming, so I'm gonna put it in the A- tier. Two-Tailed Fox is a pretty interesting and massive rocket launcher that actually shoots off 2 rockets in rapid succession. Its perk Twin Tails reads, shoots 2 rockets, 1 void and 1 solar, that track onto the same target. In comparison to Truth, the tracking on these rockets is extremely weak, but the void rocket suppresses and the solar rocket burns, so the Two-Tailed Fox definitely has some good utility and the potential to counter supers. Overall, I think it's a bit worse than Truth, and it does have a smaller blast radius, so I'm going to be putting it in the B tier. Ah, the Vex Mythoclast, where do I begin? This is a fusion rifle that fires like an auto rifle, and after getting a couple of kills, it can be transformed into a linear fusion rifle. Even during October 2021, when this weapon was in its most powerful form, I ranked it at number 10 in my top 12 best weapons video because honestly, I don't think it is that insane. At the end of the day, its auto rifle form can definitely be outplayed by peak shooting correctly with a hand cannon, scout, or pulse rifle. I will admit the linear fusion mode is quite powerful, and the auto rifle mode can delete people who are caught out of cover, but especially after the nerfs, I don't see Vex being at the very top of the meta. I'm going to rank this one in the A- tier. Vigilance Wing has the exotic perk Harsh Truths. This weapon fires a 5-round burst. When a nearby ally is killed, gain health regeneration and increased movement speed. I found that this perk activates really frequently, especially in 6v6, and the health regen and movement speed can come in clutch and save my life sometimes. With an optimal time to kill of 0.7 seconds, this weapon can be really dominant if you can track your target for the entire 5-round burst. One of the main downsides of this pulse is that since it fires 5 bullets and they come out fairly slowly, your tracking aim has got to be on point and you can't really peek shoot like you can with other pulses. Lastly, this weapon also has the perk Last Stand, which increases your weapon performance and health regeneration when you're last guardian standing. Overall, I think Vigilance is an amazing exotic, especially when you're using the Vigil of St. 14 ornament to get a clean view of your opponent, so I'm going to put this one in the A+ tier. Wavesplitter is a trace rifle with 3 power levels that oscillate while the trigger is held. It has a perk called Supercharged Battery that provides a brief moment of maximum power after picking up an orb of power. Overall, I think the oscillating power modes are really cool, but they don't really have much of an impact on the weapon's performance. The Wavesplitter is going in the D tier. Whisper of the Worm has the perk White Nail. Higher base precision damage. Rapidly landing 3 precision hits will refill the magazine. Activating this perk is rather hard to do in PvP, and it doesn't even generate free ammo anymore, but it's still really satisfying if you can make it happen. Featuring an abysmal handling stat of 31, this weapon takes several centuries to aim down sights, and I guess it makes sense because it looks like this thing weighs 1,000 pounds. Whisper's aesthetic is extremely cool, but unfortunately it's just very difficult to use in PvP, so it's gonna go in the F tier. Wishender's exotic perk Queen's Wrath provides the ability to see through walls while drawing the bow and aiming down the sights. I've become quite accustomed to abusing the true sight mechanic, so I actually thought this bow was kind of fun to use. Infinite wall hacks let you pre-fire your opponent the nanosecond they leave cover, so it will appear that you have inhuman reaction speeds from their point of view. Even if you don't actually use the bow, the sheer amount of information provided by the wall hacks can give you a competitive edge in something like Trials of Osiris. Aside from the true sight though, Wishender is really not a good bow, so I'm going to rank it in the C tier. Witherhoard has the exotic perk Primeval's Torment. Projectiles fired by this weapon blight the target or nearby area on impact. This exotic is best used for zoning off areas of the map, forcing people out of cover, and also off of zones. Witherhoard can also stick directly onto opponents and kill any super in the game, but due to the amount of time it takes to kill them, this option often also results in your death. Even so, a good Witherhoard user can be extremely devastating and give the opposing team a hard time, so I'm going to put it in the B tier. Worldline Zero allows you to unleash a surprisingly long-distance teleport on your opponent and lock onto them with an instantaneous sword attack. This automatically makes this sword better than something like the Lament, which is only really effective in close range. However, you do need to sprint before unleashing the teleport, and it's really easy to be overextended afterward, so I'm going to rank Worldline Zero in the D tier. Xenophage is one long machine gun, and it has the perk Pyrotoxin Rounds. Fires high-powered explosive ammunition. With each ammo crate providing 4 shots, the Xenophage can deal some serious damage with relative ease due to the explosive ammunition. You can actually use the explosions to hit people around corners and also damage more than one target with a single shot. It deals 150 damage to the body and cannot get headshots, so it will 2-shot all guardians even if they're in a super. Overall, Xenophage is a very viable heavy weapon, deserving of a spot in the A- tier. Before we get into the special sub-tier list that I promised at the start of the video, I just want to say that the creation of this tier list involved nearly 600 individual clips, thousands of layers in editing, and a script well over 11,000 words long, so please leave a like. This video took forever to make. I've also recently started a Patreon where I post exclusive content, give you early access to all my videos, and offer extra PvP tips and even one-on-one coaching. Joining is a great way to support my content directly, and the link to join is patreon.com/shadowdestiny. So as promised, here are some of the different variations on the tier list. Here's how the tier list would look if we divided it up based on ammo type, weapon slots, and here's how it would look if I heavily prioritize the amount of skill required to use the weapons in my rankings. You can rewind and pause the video if you'd like to examine those in some more detail. If you agree or disagree with an exotic ranking in this video, let me know in the comments and I'll probably reply to you. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you should definitely check out my sniper rifle tier list video on the top right of the screen right now. I owe a huge shout out to my friends Bert, Ducky, Pattycakes, Brave, Starlo, Evolved, and others who helped me with this video, so please check out their links in the video description.